Yeah.
As a junior.
Sure, let's do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty loud though.
Mind your way?
Sorry.
Now mind your way?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Jim, open it to the right.
I want to get to the three.
I'm sure you don't know the depths.
So okay, behave you two. We're going to switch up, okay?
He says I have a warm sense of humor. I said, you don't know the depths.
That's a surprise.
No.
So the three zones. I think I carried on about theatrical productions and the three zones. And one of the things that we found, again, from all this experience work we did, that we could see clients having these good experiences. Again, we looked for the patterns and we could see when these good experiences had a certain kind of beginning, certain things happening in the middle, and then bringing it together and closing the loop at the end. And our first attempt at this, we designed this 9-zone experience. It was very interesting and it was too much. And so I think most of our dealer world said, yeah, nice idea, you go do that still case. We're in the real world, we got to get our stuff done. But there was some really good thinking around that. And we thought, okay, it's just too complicated. So we took it and we brought it down to these three. So this 3-zone idea, and again, there's no zone lines between the spaces, and please don't think we're suggesting you use that language with the customer. It's all around the kind of experiences you have, the beginning, the middle, and the end. So zone 1 and the space that has been created for you, zone 1, we say first thing, it's all about welcoming and positioning who we are, what we do, and understanding what the customer is there for. We found that that happens much better when they're not distracted by all the stuff that they want to see. And I mean, you do customer tours more than I do, and you've always got somebody who's just, what's that? And you were trying to tell them something meaningful over here, and they're racing someplace else. And the worst thing we could ever do is have them leave this place and not know what collectively we could do for them. So this idea of taking the time, whether you do it in a minute or you do it in an hour, just make sure that when you first welcome them, of course you ask them what they want, of course you let them talk. But don't let that first experience go by without you feeling good that they have a quick sense of everything that we can do together, because that's the how that makes us different from our competition. Second part is when you start to look at the stuff, and we call that zone 2. And we've used the word solutions very intentionally, because if we, in fact, Rod and I were just talking about this, if you go through the showroom and you talk about the product and talk about them all as an object.
Before she talks about that, I was going to interrupt because I see everybody flipping. We'll come back and go through each zone in detail, so you don't have to flip through yet. So she's just going to give you the overview of the zones right now, and then we'll go through your zones in detail. So as I see everyone flipping to try to find zone 2, I wanted to let her kind of give the upfront part.
I do what Kathy says.
Sorry to interrupt.
It's okay. So the solutions, if you're just presenting product as an object, like here is answer, here is montage, and I'm doing that because I saw this happen too many times. We would all present product according to how it was on the floor. So you had your cup of coffee and you got up. The first piece of product that was closest, you would begin there. And we would do, and I know you have other lines that you have as well, but it would be this is answer, this is 9,000, this is that. And presenting it as just as that object, of course you have to talk about it, and you're going to get to feature benefits. But that's what Herman Miller does. That's what everybody does. They begin these conversations with how good we all are with our brand and how we understand our customers and we see the way the world is changing. And then we get up and go whoop, right back to this is answer, and this is montage, and this is something else. So we think this idea of creating an area where you have a zone, and I'm doing this because being able to see all that, all of the things that you want to show them, that holistic zone, you have a really good moment to stop before you begin the feature benefit tour and say, see everything out there that I'm going to show you right now? That is really a hard working space. Now, harder working spaces, I'm using language you guys know from that seminar that we had on harder working spaces. Harder working spaces are what we do for our clients. And as I walk you through all of the solutions that you're going to see, you'll see a variety of different products, but you'll see how they all work together to create a really good solution that's right for our clients. And you have that opportunity to say, you know what, harder working space, it's one that helps our customers optimize the value of their real estate. We know that there's an increasing amount of collaboration and helps us address that for our clients. Attracting, engaging employees is something we hear our clients talking about all the time. Is grouping this solution that I'm going to show you, comprised of all these different products, helps do that. And then that fourth issue, building brand. We hear about that all the time from our clients. So you have a moment and a natural stopping point, and I've not been through your space enough yet to know where those natural stopping points are, but you will have them. You probably already have them. That as you go through, you know where it feels right to stand there with the customer, where the customer also wants to stand there. And then think about that particular story that you want to tell. And if you set up the products with that story, first of all, it's a different story than anybody else is telling right now, until they all get online and start copying the story or hear that you're doing a really good job at it. But then when you begin to talk about the solutions, now you have an opportunity to say, okay, there was this holistic area that's, you know, one big harder working space. But as you go through, you can say, now this one, this is particularly suited to increasing collaboration. And you can, I do this, you can start with the solution, work it down to the application, and then get to the features of the product. That is the way customers want to hear it. Most of us, in our history anyway, did it the other way around. And we would start with, this is Answer. Answer has a 3-inch panel, but if you need a 1-inch, we could maybe do it. But it'd be a special, and that would be too hard, and then we go, but anyway, that was just a little bit of office furniture humor there. So you know, and you'll see this in the materials that we've got, that everything about that zone 2, and I'm clicking through this really quickly, because that's where you'll spend most of your time with your clients. But it really is important to set that up, and it's important to think solutions before you just jump into the features. And then the final act, or the third part, third zone, is something that we call choices. And the choices area, we found that a lot of experiences, clients were going by and they were missing some of the things that we could offer. They were missing surface materials. We would never have a conversation about surface materials. And you know the part when people smile the most in the showroom is when they're feeling a fabric and they're talking about color. And we thought, oh, a moment that is a pleasant moment for them, we're missing that. We found that seating, we were not doing a good enough job in being intentional enough in the seating area to let them have a really good seating experience. Sometimes we forget to talk about sustainability, and I know we still have to do some of the messaging here around the sustainability message. We started thinking about these things that we forgot about. Details. I know we would put details throughout everywhere, but we would forget that sometimes what somebody needs to do is just stand there and see them all. So they really say, oh, I get it now. I get what these things would do for me, and I have an element of choice in there. Workplace surveys. You know, our surveys where you can measure customer sat or mobility, collaboration. If you haven't looked at these surveys or you haven't done them, it would be good for us to know, because I would love to set it up so you could all try these surveys so that you would understand how they feel, so that you would know when to promote it to the customer. Our rise in the number of customers doing those surveys just in the past number of months has been huge. And I think partly because we're doing a better job talking about it, but also when you don't have a lot of money to spend but you think things are starting to get better, if you're a facility manager who wants to be ahead of the curve, you might say, you know what, I can afford $500 to start thinking about what I need to do. So we see the surveys going up. We went back and looked at markets where, I'm trying to think of an example, DC, our office in DC, not selling any surveys. So we went in, and in the course of changing out their space, we had all of our own people do all of these surveys on their own. And some of them, when we went back to talk about it, they were like, that survey was great. Where did you find that? What website did you find that on? Wow, it's ours. You don't even know about it. So we took that as a criticism to us. We took it seriously. And then we realized that there was no place in the showroom that had these things up and visible, so that it could either be a cue for the salesperson or a cue for a customer. And yet we have all these demos, and we bring these demos out at NeoCon, and then we forget about them the rest of the time. So all of these things that we saw, we thought, you know what, if you think about it, every single thing I just described right now is when a customer actually gets to touch, feel, participate, talk more about them than listening to us talk about concepts and big ideas. So we thought, what a great way to finish an experience by bringing it back to things that are a little more personal and about them, and maybe in an area, you know, maybe you've kind of walked a circle, right? So you start in one and you take them around and you come back and you sit down and say, okay, now we have a moment to really talk about some of these personal tools where we could talk about your specific needs. Now, as I say that, I know that you're not always going to be able to do 1, 2, 3, exactly the way I described. Of course, you're going to vary that depending on the customer or where you are in the project with them. But if it's in your head, you know what you want to do in each of those areas, that's how you're going to be able to, that's how you're actually going to be able to be variable on how you do it. Because even, you know, using theater again, if you've ever seen improv and you walk away thinking, aren't they brilliant? Look at how they just worked together, how that just flowed. They have worked together so much, they could almost anticipate each other's reactions or responses. And I'm thinking right now about a conversation we just had where design and sales can work together in that way in a customer visit, where it should feel improvisational to the client, but you really should have connected prior to the visit and talk about, I was going to say good cop, bad cop, and I don't really mean that, but talk about what you're each going to do. Talk about how you're going to play off of each other so that when the voice of the designer is important for the customer to hear, the salesperson can stop for a minute and let the designer validate what they're talking about. Maybe you already do that right now. I don't know, but you've got so many opportunities now in terms of the spaces where you could have those conversations with your client. That's one more thing that it's not in this script, but I think you should really think about that because your design group is such a valuable asset. I know you already know that, but when you're talking to the customers, and I'm trying to think where I heard this the other day. I was somewhere where they said, it's going to scare every salesperson in the room right now who's not a designer, that they had more and more designers in their sales organization than they've ever had before. I thought, wasn't that interesting? So it's a little bit of a signal that's in my head, and I thought, oh, is there a trend there? Now, doesn't mean anybody who's not a designer has to go back to school, but it does mean if you've got that resource here, you should take advantage of it, and you should use it. Okay, so there's your zone 1, right? Which really looks good. And within that zone 1, we've just listed here the kind of experiences that I talked to you about, and this is what you do have in your book, okay? So, you know, I just, again, using theater terms, but what's the motivation? Why is this important in there? And I've just talked about things like, you know, 60 to 90 second impressions and the things that are important for you to think about. But what this book also does for you, too, is it walks you through the props that we've got in there. And when I use the word prop, in our minds, we were designing things that would be cues for you. Because it's really hard to remember everything that you have to talk about. It's really easy, particularly if you've got a more difficult client, to forget to talk about some things. So we thought that's where the space should help you. And I won't tell you that I think Steelcase has always been great at it, because we love really, really edited spaces, you know, that have no signage, nothing on the walls. I don't necessarily agree that that's the right way to go. But I do think that when you have a beautiful space, we could be more clever about where these props are for you so that you can look at it and go, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to talk about right now. So in your zone 1, there is, I've got this here, Kathy, don't I? There is a presentation.
Yes, you do.
Sorry, I just wanted to go through it. Forgive me for one sec. Do I have the full one, Kathy?
Yes, you do. Yep, just go through that and then you'll start.
Okay. Do you mind if I show it to you?
No.
Has anybody looked at this yet? I don't actually know if it's loaded.
It is.
It's loaded.
Have you tried it?
Hmm?
You've done it? Has everybody seen it?
I don't think so yet.
Should I do it?
Go ahead.
Should I pretend I work here?
Absolutely.
Okay. And the customer has come in and we've got coffee and we've chit-chatted and we sit down. And I've asked them what they want. Now it's appropriate for me to say, can I tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do? That's your city, guys, right? Yeah.
Looks like a destination.
That's nice. That's great. So, in fact, I love your You Make It Easy. That's really good. So, if that is up on the screen, and we haven't even talked about it until I say I have permission, say, well, if I can tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do, and the space that I'm going to take you through right now, it's what we call a harder working space. And it's a harder working space because that's what our clients are asking us for right now. And they're...
Oh. Hello.
Okay.
I must have put the looped one in
Okay,
there.
how to mess her up.
I know.
Okay.
So sorry.
Anyway.
Woo! Thought I went through that.
Okay.
I know,
So the harder
including
working
Gail.
spaces came up first. You probably did that to me on purpose.
I promise I didn't.
Because we made her work on the weekend. But when that harder working space comes up, I know that might seem a little bit funny to begin with that, but part of the reason why we begin with that is you're not taking them down the path of Steelcase has manufacturing locations all around the world, and here's what we do. We'll get to that, but you're beginning with what they're telling us every day. And you have an opportunity, as soon as you start, to say, you know, we listen to our clients, and this is what we're hearing from them, and they're asking us for these harder working spaces that get better value for their real estate, help them with the growing amount of collaboration that goes on, help them attract and engage employees, and help them build brand. And you know what's nice about having those 4 things like that, and I know you know this because you do it, you learn those 4 things, you'll develop your own stories within each one of them. It is so great to have those in your head and pull them out when you need it. And an example I can give you, when I'm in Grand Rapids, they always make me come in and have the lunches with customers. You know those dreaded lunches when somebody comes in to talk to the customer, and if you've got a talkative group, it's great. If you have a group that doesn't talk, you're in trouble. And then that's when, you know, as a Steelcase person, you never get to eat, you have to be trying to think up the conversation. Well, the number of clients who say, well, what is it you see going on in the world right now, Steelcase? Thank goodness I have those 4. So you pull them out. I have not once been with a client who didn't nod their head to, if not all of them, at least a couple of them. So I do know that those are conversations that, those are things that resonate with the clients we're talking to right now. So once you finish that, I do, and I'm so sorry that this went way ahead.
Sorry.
I don't, that's okay, Kat. Mistakes happen.
Go back. Can you go back?
That's, yeah, see, like I'm so not talented with this mouse. I'm sorry.
You just use the arrows, Gail, on the,
I
can you
just
do
wanna
that?
show-
Brad, go help her use the arrows to back that up.
Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. It's really nice when it happens the way it's supposed to.
It's on loop, Brad, so you're gonna have to, the PowerPoint itself. Yeah,
Okay, so I'll just keep talking.
Thanks.
Because you know what, I would really appreciate it.
It's
if you
just
try
that middle
and see if it
portion.
works for you. And if there's anything that you don't think works, like, we can change it. So the whole idea is once you've gone through that conversation very quickly, I mean, you can talk about those 4 issues in a minute, or you could spend more time. What it usually does is, there's usually one of them that the customer wants to talk about. So then from there, you can say, you know what, we know how to address all of these issues because we have a process we use with everything we do, every product we design, or every experience we design, and we very quickly walk through the user-based observation, where we're always watching how people work, and then we develop some patterns, we synthesize and come through a product at the end. Now, there we go, human-centered design process. I would not stop and talk about that. I don't mean to suggest that you have to go through every one, but just to put that up there and say, you know what, we just don't build product because our competitors have a new chair, we want a new chair. We are always thinking about the way work is changing. And this process is consistent, everything we do. And then I would move on. If you have somebody who's interested, then, am I just clicking through? Then you can stop. So then you can say, you know what, the way we're able to build these hard working spaces is we are unique from our competitors, that we've got a range of architecture, furniture, and technology solutions. So we really can give you that integrated environment that you need. We can use all of those components to create wonderful corporate spaces. What you might not know is that we have some other companies like Turnstone that could help with small areas or small startup companies, mid-market. You can talk to them here. We have other brands where we can do more of the higher design products that you might want for home work environments. What you may not know is we have a complete range of healthcare. We can look at healthcare, and we can also do education. And we can do that as Ohio Desk because we represent all these brands with Steelcase. Now, we are global. If it's a large company, and you need to know that there is a global network that can support you, we are everywhere in the world where we can do that. But here's the thing that I really want to tell you about. Here's what really, I think, makes Ohio Desk and Steelcase together different and unique from everybody else, is we understand that creating a sustainable workplace is really important for our clients. Now, sustainable doesn't just mean green. Of course, green is part of that. You know, we have to provide you with environmentally responsible solutions, but sustainable means how can we be helping you with every phase that your workplace is going to go through in terms of being a really effective workplace for your people. So we can help you measure how your space is keeping pace. We can help you explore some of the key issues you have with your current space. We have people and tools and ideas that could help you plan for a harder working space. Designers, if you're talking to a designer, we have tools that are meant for design professionals so that they can use them to plan for a harder working space. Provide, well, that's where as a dealer we have all of the solutions and products and really good people that can actually help deliver those solutions. And then we can also continue through and help you manage your space so that's always supporting your organization and your people. And that's how we think we can help you love how you work and hope that you love working with us. So I can actually, when my technology is working for me, I can literally do that in 2 or 3 minutes. You can also stop and take much longer to do it. But this is, go back to what I was saying earlier, don't let anybody leave this place without knowing all the things that you can do. And that circle, anybody as old or older than me would probably remember the facility life cycle. And it was a brilliant framework. It's another one of those things that I was watching Steelcase people and dealer salespeople struggle with how to communicate all the things we do. There's a lot. How do you get through all the brands and all the ideas and all the insights, and then all the things that you do that are in that circle that sometimes you don't ever get to talk about, the things that actually make you more valuable to the customer way beyond when they have your furniture. So we thought, okay, there has to be a way that you could at least let somebody see that we can do all of that. And that facility life cycle, that was a great framework. We should bring it back. So we just gave it a fresh look. And when you have a chance to play with that tool, which I think you've done, Jim, you'll see that that circle that I showed you before, you can, with this tool, go in there and type in some things that are specific to just you. So you can customize the tool a little bit. So if you get to this part where you want them to see the services you have to manage, refurbishing, whatever else, you can actually type those in. So if you wanted to, you can customize the presentation. Okay? It's not in your book. It will be. I have this on my PowerPoint right now. It was this sales conversation that I just delivered very, very quickly about harder working spaces. I'm sorry, I just want to click through this really fast, just to show you how you might think about having this conversation about harder working space with the customer. And we meant to put it in the book. It ended up in my PowerPoint, so we'll give you a little addendum to this. And again, it's not to suggest that you have to memorize it and deliver it exactly as I would, but it does give you talking points. So you can talk about what's going on in the world of work and what's going on with workers and what does that mean for the workplace. And here's those 4 key issues that we talked about. Give you a little sneak preview. We're working right now on enhancing this and having a new version of Harder Working Spaces for you for February for the dealer conference. And we will update all of those. So we'll update key macro trends going on in the world. We'll update how that impacts work. We'll update how it's impacting workers. And we're going to add a 5th issue to these 4 issues. We're going to add the issue of well-being at work. And the whole concept of well-being, you may not hear customers saying well-being. You're probably hearing wellness, workplace wellness, or you're hearing about increasing stress between work-life balance. I want to coin a new phrase. I want us to all, so you guys do this for me and see if it sticks, okay? Talk to customers about PRF. And they'll do what you're doing right now. Post-recession fatigue. And I think we are all suffering from post-recession fatigue when there's too few people doing a lot of things in a growing market. And what post-recession fatigue means for people is all the stuff about work-life balance and stress. And our job is to figure out how a great work environment could help with that. So throw that one out, see if it sticks. If it's stupid, tell me. If it sticks, tell me too. And you'll see it make its way into the presentation. So anyway, I apologize that I'm zipping through all of that. But you have got the content for that either in the books or in the Harder Working Spaces seminar. And we will give you a few additional pages so you can see exactly what I had up here. And then as you go through your space, you'll see, you probably noticed by now, you have those little tokens, right? So those little cards that, they seem so basic, and yet it was really interesting to us to see how many clients really like them, you know? And it's something, I guess that's one of those interactive moments. They get to pick something up. It's there as a little prop for you. If you've forgotten or you're not quite sure, you can always pick it up and take a look. But it's very interesting to watch which cards customers pick up and which ones they don't. And so we'll learn from you as we go through this to see, is there information missing in those? And which are the ones that they like better than others, and we can continue to evolve them. This is another tool that will be loaded.
It is on the
It is
Mediascape.
loaded now, the emerging workplace tool. If it's up and running in a space, and a customer walks by, almost always I see them go, "What's interesting? What's that?" And again, you're going to know whether or not you have any time to take them through it. But it's another one of those things that positions you, could position as a thought leader, and not just somebody who's trying to sell them an object as a piece of furniture. We're updating that right now also. Well, I was going to say something, but I won't say it yet. We've been asked if it can fit on, I'm going to say it. We've been asked if we can make that work on an iPad, and we would like to. At the moment, it's a flash-based tool, so it doesn't work on an iPad, but it does work on your screens downstairs. The next one will work on an iPad. Do you guys have your own iPads? I'm not going to ask if it's a corporate asset because like Steelcase hasn't bought us iPads either. Anybody have their own? You've got to have bought them. Yes. Well, of course you would. You were lining up the morning they were for sale, right?
He really was, that's no
It's
joke.
the only thing he has any patience for, is to stand in line for a new Apple product.
Amen.
Meet Brad.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he was mocking Brad because he had an older version.
Oh, good. Okay, you do realize what you've done. He'll be going this weekend.
He already ordered it.
Anyway, you know what? You guys really need to explore the space and look at all the tools that are in there. And take those tools and then look back at these books that you have to see how we think that these tools could best be used. So you've got your Zone 2, your solutions area. You've got a whole information here on the purpose and the intent. But as you go through your books, you will also see that you have assets that you could use there too. Things, well, you've got your digital screens that are showing some of the other collage of photos. One of the things, remember that comment or that point I had, not mine, but from customers, they said be visual. It's really hard, this is a designer's nightmare, right? To figure out what color, right? What color do we put in here? And there's a school of thought that says, make it all white. And then there's a school of thought that says, customers don't buy all white, we should show them all the colors they need. And it's a really hard one, I don't know that there's a right answer. But what is the right answer is to do something in your space that really looks beautiful, and then give them the tools they need to see that if there's another finish or another color or a different application, that they can see what it's like. So that's where your digital screens, good and expensive idea, whoever had that idea, is a really good one. And we are always thinking about other ways that we can help you with those photo albums of other things that the customer needs to see as you go through the space. So you'll see some of these. We put together product slideshows or a collage of images. The insights cards, you know those little white, you know what I'm talking about? The boxes that it has that nice little magnetic close, and they have the pain points and the pictures. Okay, if you've not seen those, then we should get them out. If you haven't seen them, then I'd rest my case that if they're not out in the space, you're not going to see it, and your customer's not going to see it. So I think some of those things, those are props, and you should always be taking a look at where do we have those placed, so that it's easy for you to bring them out and easy for your customer to take. I mentioned that one in particular because we have found the customers really, really like it. There are all kinds of tools that we've got to support Mediascape, and I can't even look at that, the fact that I'm in that brochure, so I apologize for that. And that was all about not having enough money to hire actors. So we had to be the actors. Although one of my daughters said, Mom, you look a lot younger in black and white.
You probably don't know, but Gail was on the side of our truck 8 foot tall. She's on our
Did you
truck.
know that?
Healthcare?
The healthcare truck.
Yeah, we're in the booth where we all laugh about
Yeah.
nobody wearing
Was
boots
that you
like
in the-
that.
was that you in the booth? Actually, I don't think I have the boots on. I may have another one. I'm the receptionist.
Yeah, you're the
Yeah.
receptionist.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the one where the trim piece
Because
is
we
missing
did
off the
Right.
montage.
Yeah. This will show you that there aren't hundreds of people in Grand Rapids doing marketing. And at the time, I was just in Canada. So any time that the important people in Grand Rapids said no to something, they'd call me because I would do it for them and then get it down there. So at the time, we didn't have a serious healthcare division, but we had done a really big project with a hospital in Toronto. And they said, could you go in and do some photography? I said, I can do that. Yeah, don't let Grand Rapids know. I can do that. So it's funny I'm telling you that because I get really mad when people do that to me now, but I once did it. So South Lake was moving in hospitals, right? They have a weekend. We had a window of time. And they were moving in the next morning, was Sunday night. And I grabbed other Steelcase people. Every single person in that brochure was either my marketing manager there, one of the product managers there, our communication manager there, and me. And so we found scrubs, and we didn't think that we should have boots on, right? We just took the pictures. And some of those pictures were taken at, I think we finished at 4:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And then we had to get out of there. So I didn't even know that story until Jim told me, well,
Okay, I forgive you for the missing trim piece on the laptop handle then.
I didn't notice that.
Well, you don't, and when Dave and I were looking, you don't notice it when you're looking on thumbnail,
The one side
but
truck.
on the side of our truck.
I love that story so much that I am tooling around Cleveland on the side of your truck, answering the phone. I love that. I love that. Now, if the nurture people, I don't know if you guys know Libby Farron, who does all the marketing things. She's fantastic. Her stuff is great. Like, that will make her crazy if she ever sees me answering the phone on the side of your truck. But, like, I love that story. That's my favorite. So that's how that happened. Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad you brought that up. So you have got tokens for all of the various spaces to help you. In the details area, we've got some things, and the loop. I think we have the loop.
The details will be on the video screen, and
Okay.
or on the
It's on the
frame.
walk
Yeah.
On the walk station, good. And again, you know what, things like that, I want to tell you something that NBS did this the other day, maybe you guys do this. Heather was so smart. She has everybody who works there, so again, this idea of there's no back room, there's no front stage, backstage, we're all in this play together. Anybody who's near the walk station or near a height adjustable table, the minute they hear customers coming through the space, we saw them do it, didn't we? On cue, some of them walk station, right? and up goes the height adjustable desk. And what's interesting is it doesn't look fake. It doesn't look calculated. It's highly calculated, but it doesn't look it because they're so comfortable doing it. So I hadn't actually thought about that.
That
That's
was
really
really
good.
good. That runs to the media stage and starts collaborating.
It's right up and out of it. Yeah. So, anyway, and so your zone 3.
You have a preview.
Yep.
Just around zone 2, I think one of the interesting things about this three-zone approach and the new space design is it allows you to talk about the whole space. You know, in the past, we always, even at Steelcase, we talked about the settings. We go to Seascape, we go to Mediascape, and we talk about the settings. Now you can start to get into space stories about, you know, we know that collaborative spaces need to be within a certain, you know, amount of feet away from individual spaces if they're going to get used. We know the 4 modes of work, you know, so having spaces to socialize like your cafe. Look at the low height panel, see how we can see the windows all the way through? That's why we did that, so now you can start to use some of our furniture to get lead points on your projects. So, you know, it's not just stories about the settings, it's stories about your whole floor plan, you know, the bigger floor plan.
And you know what, as we get to the end of this here, so we can talk about some of the things if you want to. As I think about, well, I got a lot of material in here, and I don't think you want me to take you through all of this right now. As I think about Brad talking about stories, you know where you have such a rich source of material is, do you know our 360 magazine? And I think I may have forgotten to ask us to bring you a pile of those. We will follow up on that. There's a lot of them, so we're not going to send you all of them. But the ones that are around those 4 issues, like there is one magazine devoted to real estate compression and optimization, and there's one in building brand, and there's one in collaboration, and there's one in attracting and engaging. They are a really good thing for you to actually read, because you'll pick up so many little stories and talking points from that. I think they're really good tools for you to have out somewhere. One thing I've learned is if you put materials in too many places, that almost doesn't work. If you decide on a place where they are, I would think about them either being in your zone 1 or at the end, your zone 3, so that it becomes part of your tour. You know, if you've set up the whole idea of hard working spaces and the 4 soon-to-be 5 principles, and then you walk them through talking about it, and then at the end, they can see these magazines that they can receive. You've closed the loop. You've shown them that you have good reference materials. You've given them a reason to want to then look at 360s as we have them in the future. And I don't know if you mail them out. Some people like to read magazines online. Many of us still like to have them printed. In fact, we find the better these magazines get, I hope you also think they're getting better. The better they get, the more we have to print. So I think it's still one of those things that printing them and being able to hand them to somebody who still likes to hold a magazine in their hand is really important. But those are the things that I would include along with whatever literature you have that just talks about you. But I think about where they need to go in this space. And you know, one of my slides said know your stuff. It'd be really easy to feel like, or sound like you know your stuff if you actually take the time to go through some of those materials. And I know we all get busy, and even we do it. Even we'll go back and read something that we did 2 years ago and go, I'd forgotten that. Oh, that was good. and it gives you some more talking points, and having those talking points so that it feels like you're the expert is just really important when you want to be known as thought leaders here.
It also celebrates the case studies that are linked to the articles and the white papers, and so you can get a lot out of that one magazine.
So I will finish now because I have to, right? That's remarkable. Is it actually 5 to 10? Did I really do what I was supposed to do? And I know there was a lot of stuff there, so I repeat that offer of, you know, you want more, you want to know more, you just want to chat, you know, I like to talk, phone me, or you can chat via email, you know, if you want to read more of that article from the Service of Journal, or the Journal of Service and Experiential Design, I would love to. And that's, I mean, it's our ongoing job as Steelcase team to help you guys with this, so everything we can have further conversations on. So one last, all those interviews we did with all those 400 people that they told us, all those touch points that were really, really key. Most important touch point of all, every single person said every single time. Anybody?
Thank you.
Oh, that's a very good one. But actually what they all said, you know, showrooms, web design, templates, quotes, most important touch point of all is you. And you are the people that can actually make a difference by bringing life to all of these stories and to the experiences they have. So, thank you. Again, I go back to my first one, thank you.